Mark chapter 6. And he went out from thence, and came into him on all country, and his disciples followed him. And when the Sabbath day was come, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many hearing him were astonished, saying, From whence hath his man these things? And what wisdom is this which is given unto him, that even such mighty words are wrought by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Judah and Simon? And are not his sisters were with us? And they were offended at him. But Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country, and among his own kin, and in his own house. And he called there do no might war, save that he laid his hand upon a few sick folk, and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. And he went round about the villages, teaching. And he called unto him the 12, and began to send them forth by two and two, and gave them power over unclean spirits, and commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save a staff only, no scrape, no bread, no money in their purse, but be shod with sandals, and not put on two coats. Como é que fala isso? Não sei. And he said unto them, In what place soever ye enter into an house, there abide till ye depart from that place. And whatsoever shall not receive you, not hear you, when ye depart, then shake off the dust under your feet for a testimony against them. Verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city. And they went out and preached that men should repent. And they cast out many devils, and anointed with oil many that were sick, and healed them. And King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad. And he said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead, and therefore might words to shew forth themselves in him. Others say that is Elias, and others say that is the prophet, or as one of the prophets. But when Herod Herod, eu não sei falar Herodes, hearing thereof, he said, It is John, one I beheaded. He is risen from the dead, for the Lord himself had sent forth and laid hold upon John, and bound him in the prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her. For John had said unto Herod, It is not lawful for thee to have the mother's wife. Thereof Herodias had a quarrel against him, and would have killed him, but she could not. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just and holy, and observed him, and when he heard him, he did many things, and hear him gladly. And when a convenient day was come, that Herod on his birth made a supper to his lords, high captains, and chief estates of Galilee. And when the daughter of the said Herodias came in, and danced, and placed Herod, and them that sat with him, the king said unto the damsel, Ask of the whatsoever thou wilt, and I will give it to them. And he sware unto her, Whatsoever thou shalt ask of me, I will give it then unto the half of my kingdom. And she went forth and said unto her mother, What shall I ask? And she said, The head of John the Baptist. And she came in straightway with haste unto the king, and asked saying, I will that thou give me by and by in a charge the head of John the Baptist. And the king was exceeding sorry, yet for this oath's sake, and for their sakes which sat with him, he would not reject her. And immediately the king sent an executioner, and commanded his head to the road, and he went, beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head in a charger, and gave into the damsel, and damsel gave it to her mother. And when his disciples heard of it, they came and took up his corpse, and laid it in a tomb. And the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus, and told him all the things, but what they had done, and what they had done. And he said unto them, Come ye oneself apart into a desert place, and rest in it. For there we were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they departed into a desert place by ship privately. And the people não sei falar isso. Then departing, and many knew him, and ran a food teacher out of all cities, and out went then I came together unto him. And Jesus, when he came out, saw much people, and was moved with compassion toward them, because they were a sheep, not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. When the day was now far spent, his disciples came unto him and said, This is a desert place, and now the time is far past. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about, and into the village, and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat. He answered and said unto them, Give yet them to eat. And they said unto him, Shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of the bread, and give them to eat? And said unto them, How many loaves have ye? Go and see. And when they knew, they say 5, and 2 fishes. And he commanded them to make all sit down by the companies upon the green grass. And they sat down in ranks by hundreds and by fifties. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven, and blessed, and brake the loaves, não sei falar isso, and gave them to his disciples to set before them, and the 2 fishes divided he among them all. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of the fragment and of the fishes. And they that did eat to the loaves and loaves, não sei falar isso, loaves, were about 5,000 men. And straightway he constrained his disciples to get into the ship, and to go to the other side before unto Bethania, while he sent away the people. And when he had sent them away, he departed unto the mountain to pray. And when even was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And he saw them toiling in hoeing, for the wind was countering into them, and dormi aqui. Onde eu tava? Vamos ver, voltar aqui para trás. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men. And strange way he consigned his disciples to get into the ship and to go to the other side before Bethsaida, which and set away the people. And when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when even was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he gone, and he alone on the land, and he saw them toiling in rowing, for the wind was contrary to them. And about the fourth hour of the night he came unto them, walking upon the sea, and would for pass by them. But when they saw him walking up the sea, were supposed I may have dormi de novo. But when they say him walking upon the sea, as they supposed it had been a spirit, and cry out. For they all say him, and were troubled, and immediately he talked with them, and said with them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went up into them into the ship in the wind seas, and they were for amazed in themselves behold, misery and wondering, for they consider not the miracles of the loaves, for they art is their hearts was hardened. And when they had passed over, they come unto the land of Gennesaret, and drew to the shore. And when they were come out of the ship straightway, they knew him, and ran through that whole region round about, and began to carry about in beds those that were sick, where they heard he was. And whithersoever apaguei aqui. He entered into the village, or cities, or country, they laid the sick in the streets, and besought him that they might touch if in it were but the border of his garment. And as many as touched him were made whole. Se Deus quiser, amanhã eu leio Marcos capítulo 7, fé e tudo e prazer, sólida glória.